Hey everybody, this is Minion Soldier, and this is the Piracy Show. And on today's show, turrets. Gotta talk about the turrets. Now, yesterday, of course, we saw Ask the Devs, or you probably saw Ask the Devs, and you saw that CIG was basically asked about the implementation, specifically when would we get AI turrets, that sort of thing. And the answer was that basically they wanted to get turrets in terms of player gameplay where they wanted them. They wanted them to get to a certain level of performance before they introduced AI or NPC controlled turrets on ships. Now you might think that that's an answer that, oh man, Minion Soldier's gonna get pissed about that because he wants answers and he wants to know how things are gonna work and yada yada yada. But I'm actually not. I actually liked that answer, even though some people might think that it was kind of an evasion. The truth is so many ships in Star Citizen are so heavily invested in turrets. Turret gameplay is kind of core to how Star Citizen works. It's not like Star Trek where, you're working on a little panel in the bridge and you say, oh, I want to target this ship, then I want to hit them with these phasers, and then it goes out and it does the thing for you. You have to manually aim the guns with all these ships. So chances are they want to get a good baseline for human performance before they implement AI and NPC controlled turrets, because they probably want those to come in just a little below what a player on average can do with those guns. In the end, they probably want to get to a place where overall, like let's say you bring your friend with you and you want them, hey, hop in the turret, that you're not going to feel that you're putting yourself at a disadvantage by bringing a friend along and putting them on your ship. You're going to feel like that's an advantage, that's a plus, that's something I want to do. And when I can't, in a jam, I can either use AI controlled turrets or I can use NPCs, and it's still going to be pretty good, but a player overall would be better. Chances are that's probably what they're aiming for. Now, the truth about turrets is that in the Star Citizen universe set, of course, 1,000 years from now, turrets, at least man turrets, don't make a lot of sense. In fact, they kind of make no sense. I mean, even today, with the ships that we have today on the surface of the ocean, or even certain ground installations, have automated turrets that defend them from anything from supersonic missiles to mortars, and they can shoot these things out of the sky with amazing accuracy. And to now move 1,000 years in the future, of course, with advancements in technology, it's entirely likely that the computer that can control an entire ship's worth of these weapons would probably fit in the palm of your hand. The problem with that is it wouldn't create a very fulfilling combat experience if you could be actually targeted and shot down before you could say GGWP. So in Star Citizen, we kind of cheat our way around that and kind of use this, I guess, an anachronism, if you will, of using manned turrets like back in the World War II, B-24, B-29, B-17 type applications, something like that with a lot of these ships, just to create a much more visceral, much more enjoyable experience for the players. So we kind of accept this thing and we kind of say, okay, no, but it does, yeah, it does create a much more visceral combat experience. So we'll accept it. We'll suspend our disbelief and we'll accept it because it creates a better gaming experience. Unlike Interdiction, which currently creates an awful gaming experience and probably should just be switched off for the time being. So in the end, chances are CIG is aiming for a level of performance in automated turrets that kind of comes in just a little bit below what a player should be capable of. Now, what that ends up being is something that remains to be seen. Now, I'm sure that, given the fact that we already have NPC ships flying around us and shooting at us, and we've had this for a long time, that it probably wouldn't be too difficult for the devs to kind of just make a turret that tracked targets and just shot them down with almost perfect accuracy. but that really wouldn't create the gameplay that we would want. And even if it kind of did, would everybody want that gameplay? Would, you might sit there and say, oh yeah, I want to just put NPCs in all my turrets and then just have them fire with perfect accuracy. It may not create the best environment for the game for everyone, right? So you don't want to kind of give that to people and then later on take it away and say, oh no, sorry, we take it all back. Now your turrets are only 33% as accurate as they were. And, obviously people might react badly to that. Also, we may come to a point where ships, certainly smaller ships with turrets like the Cutlass Black, the Redeemer, if it ever gets built, the Vanguard, ships like that, because they move around so much more than the big, larger, much more stable ships, that turrets just may end up not working at all in ships like that. It's certainly a ship like the Hurricane could see some massive issues with its turrets, because in order to kind of operate that, especially on something as maneuverable as a fighter, you may end up with a weapon system that just doesn't work. We could quite possibly end up in a place a year from now or 2 years from now where we're looking at ships like the Hurricane, the Cutlass Black, the Vanguard, and say, you know what, when you try to account for the movement of this ship in combat, the guns just aren't practical. They just don't make sense. So maybe we have to look at realistically making those either another weapon system that's slave to the pilot's control, or some type of automated weapon system with a certain degree or expectation of accuracy. We may end up in a position like that. It's not entirely impossible. Now, one of the things that the Hurricane kind of brought on when it was originally concept sold was the community shared a lot of concerns about turret gameplay. And, Chris Roberts said, well, you know what, we're going to take a second look at that and try to get that fixed up for you guys. And obviously 3.0 came out with some improvements, but I think it would be fair to say that it still fell well short of what that experience should be, or at least what we feel that it should be, especially in the smaller turret-enabled ships. Now, a much slower and much more stable platform like a cargo ship or an Idris or a Javelin may be ideal for that type of gameplay, and it may indeed work. But for smaller ships, I mean, even something like the Polaris may end up maneuvering around just a little too much for those turrets, rather, to be practical. In the end, finding the right balance and finding how things are supposed to work, with especially with so many ships so dependent on this type of weapon system, it could take quite a while for them to nail it down and get it to where they want it to be, and also to kind of, depending on where that change or where that shift is, bring the community on board if that needs to in fact happen. It could take a while to shake that all out. So as much as we would like to say, hey, you know what, I want to test these things out, I want to know how they work so I have a better idea of where I'm spending my money or what ships I'm investing in, it may take a while to kind of find where that ideal balance is within the confines of Star Citizen and the universe as they've built it out. In the end, because there's so many ships invested in turret gameplay, CIG is probably going to take a few real serious tries to get player man turrets right before they go to automated turrets, even if it's just to approximate human performance, or whether they end up saying, you know what, on these smaller ships it really just doesn't work, so we are going to have to move to a new system for these weapons. It's probably going to take a while before CIG gets there, and there's a lot of things between now and then that CIG also has to get done. So we may end up waiting quite a while before we see where turret gameplay is going to end up. Anyways, that's the show for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.
Thank you for watching. So if you want to keep up with the latest and greatest in Star Citizen Squadron 42's development, please follow us on our social media channels. See you soon.